NBA Finals Game 3. Apparently, I'm live. That went really fast. We're going to do what we always do on this channel. We're going to strap in and prepare for a DraftKings Showdown slate, and along with the prop betting as well. We're going to dig in and compare my projections to one of the industry leaders, and in particular, our friends at Stochastic. I'm going to compare their data, their ownership as well, see what we have on those fronts. Going to hop over to Unabated, see who the best market-based bets are. We'll run a DFS lineup sim on Stochastic. But in this video, you know the industry must plays along with my splash plays for today's slate. Let's get into it here. And of course, no video on Sunday. It just wasn't feasible with wife and kid coming back into town. We had plans. I went to go see an Irish sport called hurling, where there's like a bunch of people that are super Irish in this area. But it was fun to do, but basically did not allow me to play the slate or to get some of the data in on time. So no stream on Sunday, but of course weekdays here, as long as the finals are running, we'll be doing a stream and going through my data and trying to get one last scrap of the prize money out there, which is going to be tougher than ever because Showdown in the finals is a lot of times you are on these lineup trains of 100, 200 lineups. Last time, a little bit more unique with Aaron Wiggins going off in particular. Some of the scoring in that game being a little bit weird, but prepare for the most part. You're trying to find as many lineups you can get that are not going to have a million dupes, sort of the goal here. And if you honestly, if you get a payday like that's over 3K for a top lineup, that's probably still going to be worth your time, I would hope. And that's probably where your expectations should be instead of the 250K that's technically going to first place. But here we go. Projections again today. So SGA, crazy expensive. 13K salary for him, and that is in the flex. So that is a lot that you're going to have to pay up for him if you are putting into a lineup. As a result, I'm getting him less in the field. My projection's also about 5 points lower in Stochastic, which doesn't make me feel great, but he's still 10 points higher than Halliburton. So functionally, in terms of how an optimizer will run for me, how a sim will run for me, I'll get SGA enough. I'm pretty confident. But that said, I am about 5 points lower. 49% flex ownership is what Stochastic is projecting. I have 42% for myself, my top 150. I'm also very low on him in captain in the semi-round before the show on Stochastic. I got 16% captain exposure. Fields at 32. So SGA, a very expensive play, which I think makes him tougher to get to. Halliburton at captain's going to be a play I get a lot of today, it looks like, if I'm using the Stochastic sim stuff, as it is right now. And I do like to massage things a little bit, run an optimizer too to kind of get some different lineups in. But that said, for Halliburton, he is going to be a much bigger stand for me than SGA, which does not make me feel great. But price tag wise, certainly ceiling wise for Halliburton in a game that is in Indiana, Halliburton having the ceiling here being your way to get away from SGA, both at flex and at captain, I think is sort of a logical thing, even though, as you guys know, if you've watched these streams, I've been low on Halliburton the entire regular season, a lot of the playoffs as well. They certainly have had some slates where I'm getting them more than expected. For this one, for me, it is a Halliburton slate. It is not so much an SGA slate. That price tag just, I think, really egregious at 13K. Jaylen Williams, basically flat with the field right now in Stochastic, getting 37.3% in the flex, 37.7% is projected ownership for Jaylen Williams in the flex. In terms of captain ownership, I'm getting 17% as well. So I have a huge stand on Halliburton, 27% for me, fields at 7%. For Jaylen Williams, getting him field at 13%, I'm getting 17% of captain. And then I'm heavy on both guys here in the flex with Halliburton at 55% compared to the field's 34%. Jaylen Williams with the field at 37%. I think these guys are going to be more of the core plays for me today. I mean, SGA will still be a core play, but Halliburton and Jaylen Williams, I think, getting into lineups where I don't have SGA, I imagine it's going to be a common pairing. Siakam, not so much. You can see me being disgusted in the thumbnail. That's reflecting in my ownership as well. I think Halliburton and Jaylen Williams in lineups where I'm not getting SGA, probably wanting to get both guys in there. And, I mean, I really don't think for SGA not making a lineup, I would say that there isn't really a player who I would expect to make a lineup more in terms of like SGA produces so poorly that these guys make it in. I think your hope for SGA not making a lineup is that he puts up 48 fantasy points somehow. Maybe it's all scoring. He doesn't add any rebounds, assists, any stocks, things like that. I think that's your hope for an SGA way to not make a lineup. But I would say Jaylen Williams, probably your only Thunder player. I'd say, well, if SGA is not in the lineup, maybe give a boost to Jaylen Williams as well. But Jaylen Williams at 10-4, you're definitely getting, you're paying that full price tag for him. And his usage in the playoffs, I mean, has overall been pretty good. In this final round, 25% usage last game for Jaylen Williams, 23% in game 1. His usage might be a little bit overinflated in the projection set for me as well. So those would be sort of my caveats for Jaylen Williams, why I don't think he's a play to go crazy on. But again, getting him above the field and captain makes sense to me because SGA is so expensive. Pascal Siakam, my big fade of the day, it looks like 16% in the flex is what I'm getting at right now. Fields projected to be at 39%. For Siakam, I am getting him also at captain, only 3%. Fields at 9% and change. Siakam has been okay enough in the series so far, putting up in the last game for them 33 fantasy points on about 24.5% usage. The game before that, 39.5 fantasy points on 22% usage. The usage not that high, but basically in line with where he was in the regular season. So that's not really the thing that spooks me off. The main thing that I think stands out in the series, and I'm not really getting Miles Turner either. Turner's usage has been really high. He's put up 28% usage in both games that they've played so far. I think that does pull from Siakam a little bit. And we saw, game 2, he had an okay day and a showdown, probably close to making a lineup. Game 1, a better day overall without a ton of scoring as well. But for Siakam, I think for him, or a ton of usage as well. For Siakam, I think the main thing to me is that at 9,400, you kind of can't afford that, 33-point downside day, 30 fantasy point day. Because if he gets there, he's not going to be close to captain. He also probably kills you in the flex as well, especially if Miles Turner hits, especially if Nesmith. I'm getting a lot of hits. Nembhard as well. There's enough cheap guys that could put up potentially 28 to 32 points that Siakam falling short of a 34.4 point projection would kind of be death. So I'm really low on Siakam. Again, 16% here, only 3% or a little bit less than that at captain. Siakam to me just not a priority play today. But certainly with Halliburton ownership being as high as I am on him, like the field looks like they'll play Siakam more. I like Halliburton. I like getting less ownership. I like the upside for Halliburton more. But certainly if you want to fade me today, playing Siakam, not playing Halliburton seems like a way to do that. Chet Holmgren, 25% for me in the flex. Fields at 35. Overall, the exposure and captain, 9% expected ownership by Stochastic. I'm getting him at 5. Holmgren's not been one of those players to me I'm just not crazy about. Overall, really $8,400 salary I think is reasonable, though. Being 10% less in the field doesn't feel great, but it is a situation for OKC now where you're not seeing both big men playing as much. And as a result, I think getting less Hartenstein, less Holmgren to be okay. Unfortunately, I'm getting a ton of Hartenstein because he's so cheap at 5,400. But for Holmgren, we go to Popcorn Machine too if you want to see the rotations here. The last time out, I know Hartenstein was about 22 minutes, I believe. Hartenstein had 22 minutes off the bench again. Holmgren played 28 minutes, which didn't include the few minutes of blowout time here. You're not seeing Hartenstein and Holmgren playing together very much. Second half in particular, you see Holmgren starts the second half. Hartenstein comes in, plays about 6 minutes. Then when he leaves, Holmgren comes back in. They play 1 minute or two of Hartenstein, probably just 1 minute of Hartenstein and Holmgren together. Then we're down to just Hartenstein. Not crazy about how that works for both these guys. So number one, I think it's hard to play Holmgren and Hartenstein together. So that's going to be the key thing for me right away. Number two would be Hartenstein's cheap, so I think it's an okay bet to take him here. But I think Holmgren's price tag at 8,400, like if he scoops minutes away from Hartenstein, people will play Hartenstein a little bit more than usual, I would think, because he is so cheap and he is in the rotation and maybe has the potential to earn more minutes. So I think Holmgren at 35% ownership, like a very fair number, very fair price tag. I'm not getting him naturally in my projection set, but I think this is probably him at his most reasonable as a play. The ownership's not crazy. Hartenstein being so much cheaper, people probably go there a little bit more than they should / normally would want to. So Holmgren, I think that's his main utility here, in addition to the fact that if he does get center minutes, if he does take minutes away from Hartenstein, you're hurting the Hartenstein ownership and also his upside increases. So you kind of get it on both levels there for how his showdown works. For Miles Turner, 30, and for Holmgren captain, I mentioned that got 5%. For Miles Turner, so Miles Turner, I'm not higher on the field right now, only 23% in the flex, 31% in captain. 31% for the field right now. At captain, I'm getting 3%, fields at 4.5. For Turner, he's shooting a lot. So he talked earlier in the series, I think before game 1, about how Miles Turner is the kind of player that OKC has had some tough times against. Naz Reid, not in the playoffs in the regular season, similar things. I'm trying to think of other big men off the top of my head, but like basically stretch fives, you can defend the paint pretty well, could rebound a little bit, but that's not really a necessity. That's been the kind of guys that have given OKC some trouble. So Turner's getting shots up. He's just not hitting them as much as he needs to. And because the games have kind of flowed weirdly, he had some turnovers last time out. I think he might have had foul trouble last game too. Let's confirm that here. Miles Turner. think he committed a foul at some point here. So it doesn't look like he was in foul trouble. But Turner only played 27 minutes in that game. I mean, the blowout didn't help either. For Miles Turner, I think the main thing for me is that seeing that usage be so high, if he earns some more minutes, if he plays well, I think that he can score a lot of points potentially out there. And he would also be away at 31% ownership to get some leverage on Siakam's ownership, to get some leverage on Halliburton's ownership. I think Turner's pretty interesting. So didn't get Turner a lot naturally in the sim. He is somebody I'm going to boost when I run my final lineups here because he's getting a ton of shots up. He's leading the team in usage, basically. I think for Miles Turner, that's something that could pay off at 7,400. And frankly, him at captain, if he really hits some shots, kind of helps you figure out the game script too. Indiana then maybe having a lead or at least being competitive into the end of the fourth quarter. And then you also can afford to get your SGA, Halliburton, Jaylen Williams, Siakam, Holmgren, whatever you want up top in. I think Turner at captain's an interesting play more than I got data-wise. And shout out to all you guys who are watching live after the fact. Did start this one at 1 o'clock on the YouTube start time, but I'm just sitting around, so just wanted to get it out of the way for the day. But do appreciate all you guys for watching. Of course, a lot of you guys watch after the fact as well. If you get any value out of the video, show some love, hit the like button, subscribe. I do the best I can to talk about these slates, the way that I try to look at the data and how I would approach things. In particular for a showdown, where a lot of this comes down to if player X doesn't succeed well enough at captain, here's why player Y might make it in the flex. If you say player Z is going to make it a captain, here's why player A won't make it in the flex, sort of thing. It is a lot of contingent things. It can be, I feel like I have a fucking lot of verbal diarrhea coming out as I talk about this stuff, but I'm just trying to kind of talk about the data picture as best as I see it, because there is like a real push-pull dynamic to everything in NBA, but in particular for a showdown where there's obviously only so many spots you can play, and the price tags are like, again, really egregious for a few players. Overall, like it's really tightly priced, I think. Aaron Nesmith, he has not played a ton of minutes so far in the series. Last game, he played 25 and a half minutes, basically. Didn't get in for the fourth quarter. He's been losing minutes to Benedict Mathurin in particular, losing some minutes to Ben Shepherd, I think, theoretically as well, when they do want to do more small guard on ball defense. So for Nesmith, he really just needs to get hot from three. He certainly can do it. Hasn't really been there in the series. OKC is doing a good job closing out on three-point shooters, and Nesmith's not doing a good job hitting contested shots well enough, even though he's doing okay real life points-wise, but not really heating up in the way like he did when they beat the Knicks last series, like things like that. But for Nesmith, 6,400, the upside's there for him to hit some threes. He's 25.9% owned. I'm getting him 49% in the flex right now. Also getting him 7% at captain compared to the field's 3.3%. So Nesmith feels a little bit naked, scary to have him as this much stand, but I do think Nesmith is a strong play today because of the fact that if he earns a few more minutes, it can look good. That's at the 30.3 minute projection by Stochastic. A little bit aggressive because he has been losing minutes in games, but the price tag's cheap enough. Nembhard will be out there for his defense no matter what. Getting him above the field's fine as well. Definitely not as big of a stand as Nesmith compared to the 49% flex ownership I'm getting for him. Getting only 31% for Nembhard. Captain, I'm also just with Nembhard's ownership, 3.9% for the field. I'm getting 4. But Nembhard's played well overall in the playoffs so far. I think the rates have come down for him appreciably since the Eastern Conference Finals, but still averaging 0.86 fantasy points submitted on 58% true shooting. Those aren't bad numbers. I think he's a more stable play than a guy like Mathurin, who probably picks up some ownership because Mathurin's got to score a lot of points and to sort of justify staying on the court. Nembhard's going to be on the court no matter what. So Nembhard, to me, I think an interesting play right now at 6,800. Hartenstein, we talked about enough really with Holmgren. Again, he's cheap enough here. Really would have a hard time. Holmgren at captain with Hartenstein. Not sure I would love that. Holmgren in a line with Hartenstein overall. I think there is a tough little dynamic there for these guys because they're not playing a ton of overlapping minutes. I think Hartenstein's an okay play. Really think, though, I'm getting too much of him, but I get it at 5,400. He probably makes for a better part of a balanced lineup. Alex Caruso's gone nuts with usage last game. Got to 25% usage, probably a little bit lower than that. Let me give you the accurate number because I hate saying things and being wrong about them. No, Caruso, 25.9% usage last game in 27 minutes. Did have a nice scoring day overall, 26.3 DK points. For Caruso, he's been playing well in the series. He's priced up as a result, 6,200. Definitely still in the mix for me at 29% ownership in the flex. At captain, I'm getting Caruso only at 2%, Fields at 3%. But in the flex, I think Caruso a valid play, but definitely not a jam him in kind of play at 6,200. And it'll be top in our last part here of the top projected players. We'll sort by value, and we'll talk about guys like Mathurin more. But Obi Toppin, 31.5% for the field. I'm getting him at 31. Not a big stand there. He is your Siakam backup primarily. Candles 6 minutes away from Miles Turner in certain builds, but that's about that. So let's sort by value here. Take one more look through things for some of the cheaper guys. Your Wigginses, your Matherins more so. I think I'm forgetting somebody who's in that top group. Thomas Bryant. So Thomas Bryant last game played 11.5 minutes. He's squeezed Tony Bradley from the rotation, it seems. Didn't play very well. Only 1 real life point, 2 peripherals, minus turnovers. For Thomas Bryant, still feels like if they wanted to play Tony Bradley, they could. But Thomas Bryant at 1,200, he and Kenrich Williams are only super cheap guys that are in play in a meaningful way. So I would say for Thomas Bryant here, he's cheap. That's the main thing going for him. Getting him at 16% in the flex, 14% for Stochastic right now. He's not going to be one of your chalk plays of the day, but he's a play you can get some of for sure because he's going to allow you to cram in a bunch of the star players. Then Mather looks like the top value. So for Squeak Diesel here, he is a good value on paper. Again, the big thing for him, for Aaron Wiggins, who is a lot lower because of his price tag and the minutes being a little bit more unstable, I'd say. But for Mathurin, for Wiggins, these guys really need to score fast to justify staying on the court. And the way that they get on the court, too, it also comes kind of dependent on the situations where Mathurin played a few more minutes of the second half last game and got more shots up as well because Indiana was dead, basically. Let me go to the popcorn machine here. You can see Mathurin here, 3 points in this stint, 2 points in this stint, 1 point in this stint. Then when the game is like completely out of hand, they need desperation scoring. Mathurin puts up 8 points in that last stretch. That's sort of when the highest upside hits for a guy like Mathurin. For Wiggins, not quite the same thing where he did most of his scoring in the first half. Did put up a little bit here as well. But basically for both those guys, like because they're high usage guys who also don't add a ton defensively, you're kind of a narrow band of outcomes for them to hit. So when they're super chalky, I think it would be crazy to play less Mathurin here. He does project as a top value, and we do expect Indiana to need to put up points because OKC, seemingly the better team so far, even though the series is at 1-1. I think that and obviously the entire season as well, like OKC is like a favorite for good reason. I think for Mathurin, I would worry that he's a little bit overowned at that, because of what that is for being a high usage guy that they seemingly are not guaranteeing minutes. But at 2,400, he's definitely the best value play because like he's a legit player. Thomas Bryant, I think kind of not really a legit play. Kenrich Williams is getting backup big minutes, but not enough to matter. Isaiah Joe can get hot from 3, but he's also not out there enough. So like Mathurin projected for 18 minutes here. You're just going to get more run with him no matter what. So he's a hard to avoid value, but that as a result means that if you avoid him successfully in a showdown, you might win a lot of money. Kenrich Williams, again, your backup big man, your third big. He's ice Jaylen Williams, the lesser one, the big man one from the rotation seemingly for now for the series because they don't want to play 2 big men too often versus Indiana rather. So for Kenrich Williams, I'm getting him barely any here, only 1% fields at 4. But I do think that for Kenrich Williams, getting him 5%, 10%, nothing wrong with that. We talked about TJ McConnell probably benefits if Mathurin fails a little bit more so. Priced at 4K though, so he's not really a price point pivot. But I think if Mathurin doesn't succeed, probably have a shot that McConnell produced more in that time period. I guess you would lose some theoretical assists to Mathurin, but McConnell creating, getting some steals, some early breakaway kind of plays that don't involve Mathurin. That's one way the minutes there, rather the production doesn't flow Matherin's way in the amount of minutes that he gets. Hartenstein, he's a top value here. He's going to get into lineups, even though really don't feel the most cozy about him. I think isolating him from Holmgren's probably the best move. Isaiah Joe, barely a play to me, but he is a top value technically at 1,600. Thomas Bryant, Kenrich, Isaiah Joe, none of them own more than 15%. And Thomas Bryant, if he's chalky, Kenrich and Isaiah Joe to your most obvious pivots. All these other guys we talked about already. So that sort of breaks that down well enough. Hopefully we'll do the game by game view here so you can see the totals, but OKC 116.8 implied points, Indiana 111.3 implied points. So a 5.5 point dog at home here. Indiana has been scoring less so far in the series. Wouldn't be surprising to see if this game goes similarly. And we have the total come down a little bit overall for Indiana next game. But in this spot, I mean, we've covered pretty much everybody. I guess the only guy we haven't talked about is like a Kason Wallace who played I think 22 minutes last game. He did start as well again for Isaiah Hartenstein. Really not a guy you expect to produce, but his price tag is now incredibly uncomfortable, and he will get that first crack at minutes, which sometimes does matter. So frankly, with how much Hartenstein I'm getting and not getting much case on Wallace, the field's not getting there at all. Just playing case on Wallace. Again, you want to fade me, play case on Wallace today instead of Hartenstein. Play Dort. I think that's one way that Hartenstein doesn't get minutes. They go with the quality wing defenders instead. Aaron Wiggins scored a lot last game. I'm surprised that the ownership won't be there at all for him today at 15%. Do think he can be a microwave scorer off the bench, but also he just doesn't play enough defense for where he is right now as a talent. So for Aaron Wiggins, can go either way, but if he's not chalky, I think he's probably worth more exposure than 15% that he's getting right now. Indiana side, we talked about pretty much everybody here. Guys like Johnny Furphy got garbage time minutes last game. Doesn't mean he's going to get into rotation this one. James Johnson got minutes last game as well. Again, not really guys I'd want to play today. Ben Shepherd, Thomas Bryant, sort of your lowest tier of guys you should be willing to play. Shepherd's going to be out there for defense enough that he can hit some shots potentially if things really flow his way, but not a lot of outcomes where he does a ton out there with the 0.61 fantasy points per minute I've projected for him today. Thomas Bryant, a little more likely can get there. Kind of the same thing with Miles Turner having high usage in the series. There are opportunities to get some shots top of the key, at the wing threes for the big man to get there for Thomas Bryant. I think he's an okay play at 1,200, but again, the risk could be if they want to just play Tony Bradley, they can do that again. I don't know why they would, because they've shown an indication to use the center as like a stretch kind of component for what they're doing offensively. So I would think Thomas Bryant stays out there, but you never know in the playoffs here. Rotations can get a little bit weird besides the starters being sure to get a good amount of minutes. We're going to go to Unabated next, guys. So we'll hit the stochastic sim and call it a day here. But hopefully that was a good run through things for all you guys out there. And again, show some love if you can. Subscribe, hit the like button, do all that stuff that a YouTube channel needs. Because it goes a long way from here. Of course, I'm just showing up and doing the work as I promised I would at this point. Even though we are not being directly paid by anybody to do the streams, I do show up here and try to give you guys the best takes I can on slates that I'm gambling on in the NBA right now. Let's go to Unabated, see what they have for the market-based data. I would assume it's not going to be a lot because market-based data does tend to tighten up when we have a few days for it to stabilize. Same with the NFL. That's why it's hard to gamble on the NFL. But, we'll see what we get. And of course, Unabated, you still can get this. The WNBA stuff is what I would really tap into for Unabated right now. 20% off, link down below for Unabated. Use the promo code SPLASH as well if you want Unabated to get that 20% off. But basically for them, WNBA data being made by the same NBA projection team that we saw win so much money during the NBA season, put up, I think, 190K for the final results, including the playoffs, for all the bets, 30 minutes for tip-off and all that. It's gone really well for Unabated's data team this year if you just follow the, placing as many bets as you can kind of criteria, and 5% or higher sim ROI. But do check out Unabated. Really great tools on there with their custom projections. And for WNBA, if you want to strap it and do the work, you can make money on it if you can. Just want to be able to do it and get that volume in. For points bets right now, Aaron Wiggins, the only one you'd want to take under 6.5 points. So not a great sign for Aaron Wiggins in DFS, given that the market lines for him have him scoring about 1/3 of the real life points I believe he did last game. Aaron Wiggins under 6.5 at -130 odds on DraftKings. The only market-based projection bet you want to take according to Unabated, but a good bet for Wiggins right now. And a prize picks under 6, underdog under 5.5. So DraftKings line just inefficient as well. We got a couple bets here. At least one good bet. Let me make sure we sort this. All right, Lou Dort. Lou Dort under 4 rebounds. Looking good on prize picks. 2.3% EV for Lou Dort on prize picks under 4 rebounds. Isaiah Hartenstein over 7.5 rebounds. Close to playable on FanDuel. It's plus money at plus 116, so I could see taking that one because at least if you hit, you're getting paid off on the on the positive side of things as opposed to paying juice on it. But that's still under a 2% threshold. We normally want a 2% or higher for sim EVs off of market-based projections. For sim EVs off of a proprietary projection like Unabated makes, you want 5% or higher because it's not priced in basically into a liquid market. But anyway, for this one, Lou Dort under 4 rebounds would be a good bet to take. The rest of them, probably, if you want to get bets in, you can. Thinking about getting wild, the small number of entries tonight. Hey, I mean, that's what you probably should do in a showdown. I mean, it's tough because, like, sometimes in showdowns, the entries that are most likely to win are the ones where it's like, cool, this is very well projected, going to come up a lot. But, and you don't really get the same, I think, reliable upside in that front compared to an NFL showdown where it's like, cool, you play the 5% or less owned captain, you're probably going to get decent results some amount of the time. But, you know, for NBA, I think it's still a showdown, large field one. Being unique is never going to be a bad thing as long as you're willing to lose that money. But TJ McConnell, Miles Turner, close to playable over here for their assist overs, but really not enough of an EV, so I would not recommend them personally. And let's look at PRAs. Again, it's a quick journey here because market-based data, you're just not going to find a ton of inefficiencies at this point, but try to find what we can get. Got here late. Have no fear. I did put a 1 p.m. start time initially. I just started early because, you know, sometimes you just got to get it done. Ben Shepherd over 4.5 points. Looking good on both pick'em sites. Okay. Ben Shepherd over 4.5 points, 3% EV. That's pretty high relative to where we are in the NBA Finals at this point. So Ben Shepherd over 4.5 PRAs. Good to go on your pick'em sites. Not so much anywhere else. Miles Turner over 21.5 PRAs. Good on Underdog. Not good on Prize Picks. For Underdog right now, priced over 21.5, 2.6% EV on there. Prize Picks over 22, so you could take it, really. But, you know, like it is still, you're losing a lot of EV by losing that half point there with half PRA. So Miles Turner really only on Underdog here over 21.5 PRAs. And Pascal Siakam, not so much. That's basically it. Let's look at MLB real fast, just out of curiosity. Market-based projections. We got strikeouts. Just seeing what we have. I actually have not played with Unabated's MLB stuff very much. Logan Allen under 4 strikeouts on Prize Picks, 3.7% EV. Looks like your best bet. Home runs. Oh boy, home runs is probably going to be hideous. You get juiced to death on home runs, and I presume there won't be much of a market-based advantage here. Let's take a look. We got a minute, right? I hope you don't mind. We'll run our DFS sim as well. I just want to see what Unabated has. And, you know, still toying with the idea of doing MLB. My momentum is waning for it a little bit. I have to be honest. No plus EV home run bets, unfortunately. But that's not surprising. Cedric Mullins is as close as you can get. Anyway, lots of good stuff at Unabated. They have similar things for every sport. You can see also a ton of markets for MLB, ton of markets for WNBA, ton of markets for PGA. So check it out for yourself at Unabated. Promo code SPLASH, 20% off. Link down below. And let's go to Stochastic next for the final stage of our journey here. We're going to build 5,000 lineups that have them compete 10,000 times on a Stochastic Showdown build. And guys, if you can, show some love. Again, hit that like button, subscribe. Goes a long way for me here. Just one guy showing you my gambling every day. And look, a lot of things we've gotten right throughout the year. Playoffs are fucking tough, man. It's tough to find an edge. Tough to also just have lineups that bubble up above the surface. Even you got a slate mostly right. So that's the reality of betting here, but still fun to me. I still enjoy the process, and hopefully you guys have as well throughout the season. We've had our heroes. We've had our assholes like Miles Bridges, who we actually grew to love at sometimes. Quentin Grimes, I'd say not an asshole, but certainly loved him throughout. But it was a fun NBA year, so I've enjoyed the process here. Even though, you know, Showdown does feel like you're hanging out in your high school after graduation's already happened. But you know, I'm doing the work here. Check out Stochastic as well, guys, if you can. Not just NBA data, though I would say if you want to get NBA, get a weekly package. Definitely don't get monthly at this point. But it's all 15% off, all their data, all their sims, whether it's NBA, MLB, PGA, NASCAR, all the sports you have out there that you want to get some data for. I think besides WNBA. Stochastic has a data package and a sim package for you. So check it out, 15% off, link down below. All the expensive stuff, all the cheap stuff, all 15% off, and it does support the show directly because half the money you pay to Stochastic does go back to the show and allows me to keep doing the whimsy that we have here. Top ROI lineups right now. Surprising one at number 1 for me. TJ McConnell at captain. That's your Miles McBride style captain, in my opinion. I don't think that hits very often, but when it does hit, I'm sure you win all the money. But TJ McConnell, Alex Caruso, Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Hartenstein, SGA, Halliburton. So basically you're getting in the 2 superstars in addition to 1 tier 2 player, let's say in Holmgren. Hartenstein and Holmgren, tough build to hit because they've not wanted to play much together as we talked about. But I get why this would be a top sim ROI because I'm sure when it hits, it does pay off. Number 2, Jaylen Williams, Benedict Mathurin, Miles Turner, Pascal Siakam, TJ McConnell, Tyrese Halliburton. So an SGA fading lineup up top here. Jaylen Williams, the captain, makes sense when you are fading SGA with the assumption that Jaylen Williams producing an outlier performance in points, rebounds, assists, maybe does take away from SGA's production overall. But for Jaylen Williams, the captain, I think the lineup's good. It's just, you know, no SGA definitely does feel kind of naked. Number 3, it's SGA captain, Alex Caruso, Benedict Mathurin, Kason Wallace, Isaiah Hartenstein, Tyrese Halliburton. So basically, if you want that one other star, SGA and Halliburton are 2 superstars. you have to play a bunch of dumpster dives / mid-tier guys, and that's Caruso, Mathurin, Kason Wallace, and Hartenstein. Number 4, it's SGA. Again, Mathurin, Kason Wallace again. Jaylen Williams makes this one. Thomas Bryant, you have to pay all the way down to be able to afford Jaylen Williams along with Tyrese Halliburton is how this 4th lineup looks. And at number 5, it's Isaiah Hartenstein, Benedict Mathurin, Jaylen Williams, Obi Toppin, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander again, and Tyrese Halliburton. So Hartenstein and captain allows you to jam in 3 of the stars, or your 2 primary stars and your tier 2 guy, and Jaylen Williams. But then you got to play Mathurin and Toppin as well. Hartenstein hitting a captain doesn't feel much different to me from McConnell hitting a captain. Just don't know that it happens too often. Your top ROI players overall, TJ McConnell in the flex. Number 2 is Benedict Mathurin in the flex. Number 3 is SGA at captain. Number 4 is McConnell at captain. I don't think you're going to get a ton of exposure there, but it does seem like McConnell at captain. If you're playing 150, you should probably have a few lineups with it. Number 5 is Hartenstein in the flex. Number 6 is Thomas Bryant in the flex. Number 7 is Alex Caruso in the flex. So Halliburton noticeably absent, I would say. Top exposures overall for all flex guys that are your top ones. SGA, 50% in the flex, 48% overall. So you were above the field on SGA in the flex and Stochastics top 150. Isaiah Hartenstein, 45%, fields at 27. So almost a 2x stand in the flex on Hartenstein. TJ McConnell, 43% in the flex, fields at 25. Really big stands. We've not gotten like huge stands from Stochastic in a while, but big old fat flex stands on Hartenstein and McConnell. Benedict Mathurin, 40% fields at 41. A little bit of an anti-stand, but you're still getting a ton of Mathurin. Jaylen Williams, 37% fields at 38. Pretty much with the field on him. Alex Caruso, 36% fields at 24. That's a pretty big stand on Caruso. So Caruso, Hartenstein, McConnell, flex plays are going to be popular for Stochastic users, it looks like. Tyrese Halliburton, 36% in the flex, 34% overall. Then a captain, highest exposed guys, SGA. So SGA for Stochastic is in 85% of their top 150 lineups, but you're getting them above the field at captain. Jaylen Williams, 15% at captain, fields at 13. So pro stand, but not really a big one. Tyrese Halliburton, 9.3%, fields at 7.6. So a little more Halliburton in the field, but again, not a big stand. Caruso, 7.3%, feels at 2.6, feels a little point chasey. Not the sim would do that, but it does feel point chasey. Miles Turner, 6%, fields at 4.1. I like that given how high his usage has been. Siakam, they're under the field on 5.3%, fields at 9.5. Holmgren under the field on 5%, fields at 10. And the biggest fades. So not really big stands at captain, it seems like. Biggest fades, Aaron Nesmith. So I got a ton of Nesmith. Stochastic is fading Nesmith. That doesn't feel great, but that's what we have right now. 17% less of Nesmith in the flex. It was what Stochastic wants. Only 11% of their top 150 lineups have Nesmith in them. Obi Toppin, 21% in the flex, fields at 31. So that's a 10% negative stand on Obi Toppin. Aaron Wiggins, 10% less in the field, 5% fields at 15. Nembhard, 8% less in the fields at 28. Stochastic wants you to get 20. Holmgren, 6% less in the field at captain. Siakam, 5% less at captain. Isaiah Joe, 4% less at the flex. All right, so yeah, I mean, really, these are noteworthy stands, though. I'll just highlight it one more time. Hartenstein, big stand in the flex. McConnell, big stand in the flex. Caruso, big stand in the flex. Thomas Bryant, decent one. That's Stochastic stands. I'm going to give you guys my splash plays for the day. Before we do that, one last run through plugs. Against Stochastic, 15% off all the data, all the sim stuff. It's all 15% off no matter what sport. For NBA, I would recommend only getting a weekly one. But for MLB, getting monthly. For PGA, NASCAR, monthly, get in there. Have some fun with it. And it does support the show when you do it. Unabated, 20% off. Link down below as well. Promo code SPLASH over there to get their proprietary projections of the initial ones you saw all regular season long, or the market-based ones that we use for any sport. But a good data in particular for WNBA is what I'd recommend for you guys at Unabated. And join the Discord too, guys. It is a growing Discord community there, which I've been happy to see. But $5 to join here, to be a member of the channel, support the show here, and also to get in the Discord and help us keep building a nice little community of non-assholes who want to gamble intelligently is sort of the goal here. And we're all looking for the big paydays, and we'll try to do that as responsibly as we can, as always. Splash plays for the day. Unfortunately, I think Hartenstein has to be one. I guess Stochastic is on board with him too, so that should make you feel a little bit better about it. But I do think Hartenstein came up a ton for me in the flex. I don't like him very much a captain, but he will be a part of lineups to me, I think, in a pretty big way. Nesmith, I think, has to be a splash play of the day too. it's hard for me to go against my projections. Like, I do feel a little bit naked with Stochastic going like Neesmith's a 10% play, and I'm getting him at 49 in the flex. Feels like a really big stand. I don't know that I'll be quite that high when the final things lock, but I do think for Neesmith, hitting some threes is still something that can happen from any spot, even though OKC has defended him incredibly well. I think it's been a part of his downfall overall, and the fact he just needed more defense from other guys. I think Neesmith is still a player that can have an outlier day in these finals. And I think if Indiana comes close to winning this game or wins it, I think Neesmith probably had a part in that, would be my hope. Tyrese Halliburton, I'm getting more of him as well. So I guess hoping that more assists get created by Halliburton for Neesmith might be one way that could work out for me. Besides those guys, those are really my biggest stands. Halliburton is one. You guys know, if you watch the shows, I don't get Halliburton as a stand very often. So today that is going to be a stand for me. It seems like the public will be playing him less. So Halliburton's probably the big one. But everybody else going to get some amounts of your value guys. Thomas Bryant, Benedict Mathurin. Those guys are coming up for me too. Like, they're not going to be as big of a stand for sure. But that's how I'm feeling about the slate, guys, based off of things right now. Again, make sure to gamble responsibly, even though it is always money time. This channel, follow the channel at Splash Play Bets. We'll be back. Well, what's the final schedule? There's one more game this week, right? Is there a Friday game? Yeah, there's a Friday game. So back on Friday again. We'll come to our decision point about MLB or not. But, if you want to show some love, join the channel. If you want MLB, if there's enough people that want MLB, I'll do it. But, there's got to be some support here behind it. So please join, do stochastic stuff. Show me that you want me to do MLB, and I'll keep that in mind here. We're going to run it through for the NBA Finals for now. So I'll be back on the Splash Play pod channels as well tomorrow. Best ball drafts coming up. Check out some of my NFL content if you want to do that. And I'll see you guys again soon. Enjoy your days. Good luck. Thank you for watching, of course, as always. And I'll see you guys soon. And again, good luck again tonight. All right, bye, guys.